Hello everyone, and welcome to my new podcast episode on the Professionals Podcast. My name is Andra, and today I'm going to talk to Keith Campagna, VP of Sales at the ROI Shop. Keith, thank you for accepting my invitation and welcome to my podcast. I'm very glad to speak to you today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Doing well. Getting the starting the week off, starting August off today, right?
Yes. Yesterday it was Switzerland's Day, National Day, and
Nice.
the 1st August it was in the Saturday, and we are right starting into a new month, and I'm really glad to see you today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with your story. How did you start, and how did you get into your current activity job? What are you doing at the ROI Shop?
So the ROI Shop, which stands for Return on Investment, really, I got here because about 15 months ago, I was laid off for the first time.
Okay.
And I've been in software sales since 2006, and I had basically come to the realization that I made the decision to use getting laid off as a positive stepping stone to becoming an entrepreneur. And it got me wanting to create a company that I now founded called Lifework Integration, which is a consulting firm. We can talk about that in a little bit, but
Sure.
The ROI was there because I had used the software when I was a sales rep for a company called Concur Technologies, and it changed the way that I was able to help people buy the product. And so you fast forward a couple of years, I maintained a very good relationship with the CEO and the founder. And when I was laid off, I brought a project known as HROI to him. And that was about a year ago, maybe 10 months or so ago. And that project was a good success. And that basically was the catalyst that got me to the ROI Shop today as the VP of Sales.
Mm-hmm. But how did you start with your education? What did you study, and how did you come to your current, let's say, your current business, your current job?
It's funny. My mother will tell you that I was always a salesperson by nature, and so really I started in sales right out of college. I went to University of Pittsburgh for my education. I got a great education there and was able to just start getting into. I started it with material handling and forklift sales in North Jersey, and the funny thing about North Jersey is that it's very real world. There's not much textbook to it. It's hardcore, get out there and sell. And I was fortunate that the first organization I worked with was very good at shaping effective sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to leverage that. Then I got into technology in 2006. And then it basically was just a sequence of events where I just was able to leverage one experience to the next. We live in a world where successful people can change jobs. We see that most people are at a company no more than 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what it's going to be like going forward? It'll probably be a lot less if what I think is right. And so really this was just, I kind of fell into human resource software.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to become acclimated with all sorts of businesses, all different sizes and shapes, different industries. I've met with and worked with people in all rank and file inside of organizations. And so I really became a little bit of I tell people during my keynote speeches, I mentioned how I've been a fly on the wall on over 1,000 walls. So that perspective allowed me to shape and see the fundamental challenges that businesses have, and that's getting people to collaborate in a way that they can come up with good ideas that they can put into motion and see results in the time frame that they want. So
Okay, that sounds great. You spoke to me that your mother said that you would be a salesperson. do you know other people from your life who influenced you on becoming who you are today?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people, I'm blessed with the idea that I have had a lot of great people come into my life and help. It's funny, I was not a very good student. I maintained grades, but I really just kind of figured out how to get grades. I wasn't exactly the student that's studied because they enjoyed it. It was more to get the grade and move on. But once I got out of college, I started to, really learn and enjoy learning about business and behavior. And so, I did a lot of crazy reading once I got out of college. And, in terms of major influences, Peter Drucker is a phenomenal, from your neck of the woods, kind of your neck of the woods, right? Um, um, John Adams. I read a lot of early founding father type Revolutionary War reading. John Adams was a major influencer just because he had such an intense passion for making things better. And it just really, real keen attention to detail in terms of what other people in the room were doing and thinking. And he was able to tie that together in a very, what I consider patriotic and professional way. And then, I gotta say, I am one of those people that does my best not to separate life and work. I actually feel as though that whole idea is bad and it causes stress. And with that in mind, another major influence I have is a guy named Maynard Keenan. He's a musician. He's the lead singer for 3 bands. He also has a vineyard. He's also a book writer. He's just been able to show me that the world is yours if you want it to be, and you can do it on your terms. And, I'd say those 3 guys basically helped shape a lot of what I'm doing today.
Nice. Okay, let's go back to your current activity, your current job. Which challenges do you feel you are facing there?
So the ROI Shop is a software. We've been around since 2013. What this software does is help sales organizations give their sales reps a tool they could collaborate with their buyers so they could quantify in very simple and easy terms how much working together will make or save the company money. So it builds business cases, and as it turns out in today's economy, businesses need to sell. Businesses need to become more efficient, which means they need to buy things. And connecting the two has been a real fun journey so far. I hate to say that it came at the expense of the COVID pandemic, but truth be told, our message got louder and our capabilities are now rising. So I like our future, so to speak. Challenges are that a lot of people are in a stressed mindset. They're not in a growth mindset. And if you're in that survival mindset, you can't be creative. It's very hard to be collaborative. And so helping people recognize and feel comfortable in making a business decision is the name of the game anymore out there in sales. So that's a challenge that we have, that everyone has.
Yes.
I would say, on a more personal challenge, the idea of maintaining life with work, because now we see everybody, my consulting company is called Life Work Integration. So it's designed to be able to give you the mindset of doing your job and doing your life together, not one or the other. It's kind of both. So that comes with a little bit of work, because it's not always easy to leave it comes with a process of reinforcement, and a lot of personal development comes along with it too. So it's not just the idea of taking a startup company and blowing it up so we can have a lot of success with that. I also happen to be a single father with 2 kids, 2 boys, 12 and 13. So I am constantly moving along. So one of the challenges is to be able to maintain a nice, easy pace, realizing that work will be there, life will be there, and stress doesn't have to be. Those
Okay,
are the challenges.
that's great. That's really the image of the today's businesses, I think. But let's switch to your goals. What are
Sure.
your overall goals at your consulting company or at the ROI Shop?
Sure. So I've got some, the goals of the company is to grow the company in terms of annual recurring revenue. So we've got our metrics. We see a massive opportunity. We think we're going to be able to survive and thrive in the next few years. So our goal is to see what kind of amazing things can come out of it. We have, plenty of projects, plenty of clients. We're tipping over 75 clients right now. I think we're almost at 80. So this idea of momentum to see really if I could be a part of something that's super, super exciting, super, super profitable is exciting to me. But fundamentally speaking, my goals are to help people understand that they could turn stress into a competitive advantage and live a life that they feel is worth living, no matter where they came from or no matter where they want to go. And the beauty about what it is I do at the ROI Shop and with life work integration is that the philosophy is the same. In order for you to live a life that you're happy with, that you can be, without stress in a negative way, is a phenomenal freedom. I look at the macroeconomics and the way that the world is shaping, and inside of all the chaos, I am certain is opportunity. And Andra, what's that opportunity like for people today? I think it's peacefulness. I think it's awareness. I think that it's patience and self-love, collaboration, compassion. And I think by being able to help companies with the ROI Shop, when I say help companies, I mean make more money, sell their product. It's amazing what happens when you start selling your product more efficiently, right? You're able to do more things and have more fun. So that's the real pleasure I get is, fundamentally speaking, my goal is to help people as much as I possibly can all across the world and make as much money as I can doing it and have as much fun as possible.
That's great. That's a really cool vision you have. And I'm glad you can share it today with us in the podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, then I would ask you about 2 or 3 recommendations for someone who wants to start doing what you actually do.
So, I appreciate you giving me the questions ahead of time. I hate to spoil it for the audience, but what I am doing is following my dreams. Mm-hmm. What I am sincerely doing as an individual is following a process that I believe will get me the life that I want. And as it turns out, because I'm in that process, I'm actually experiencing the life that I want now. And I feel very grateful for that. So for people that are, that want to somehow, some way establish this kind of a lifestyle, the number one thing I always tell my life work integration clients is, let's discuss, or at least you need to come to terms with the fact of what you want out of your life. Mm-hmm. Same thing goes for when I'm talking to prospects and potential clients with the software company. What are the desired outcome goals? What are the metrics that we're looking to achieve? And what happens if you don't get there? Mm-hmm. One of my fundamental philosophies is that the health of any organization is inherently tied to the health of the organisms working within it. Mm-hmm. And so as an individual, you need to understand what you want out of your own life. And then, is my humble opinion, start shaping your action steps to become that person, which is really where number 2 comes in. And that's, if you want to start doing the kind of things that gets you happy and helps you turn stress into a competitive advantage, you have to start being more self-aware of things like of where you're putting your attention. Mm-hmm. Are you watching the news? Are you following somebody on social media that's not producing any kind of helpful advantage for you? And then once you identify that awareness, then stop doing it and replace the negative influences that you have with positive influences. And you can find them anywhere imaginable. Just go online. I tell people all the time here in the States, please just stop watching the news and spend more time on YouTube and just YouTube things like, hey, what would make me happier in life? And just follow that rabbit hole down. And you'll see that there's an abundance of information that you can start processing, and before you know it, it becomes part of your life. And then just like everything else, the things that you put your attention to, where you focus your mind, that's where your life and that's where your energies will take you, whether that's work and life. And I maintain that it could be both.
Yeah, that's great. I also managed to create a list of mine with subjects I like to learn about, and started several online courses. And I think it's much better than following some news or just spending negative time on.
You know, it's funny. I tell people, it's funny. I've I've done keynote speeches. I've been a paid presenter. I have a podcast. We had about 10,000 monthly listeners on our podcast, and congratulations to you and yours and your kickoff. I'm really happy to be a part of this, at least first handful of guests that you have. So thank you. But you know, I lost my train of thought here. Hold on. The idea here is that once you start surrounding yourself with people and ideas that you can then start to build a new version of yourself at, the thing that I tell people to do all the time is start today. If you want, that's what it was. So here in the States, I do all this conversation, I do all these speeches, and then I get off of a stage and I have to tell people, sometimes I tell them on the stage, I haven't watched the news since 2011. Like I sincerely focus on the things that matter in my world. This comes a lot with focused attention, habits, but at the end of the day, single dad with 2 kids, 2 startup companies, I'm not all that concerned about what some knucklehead politician is saying 3,000 miles away. And as much craziness is going on here in the States and around the world, I think the world is much better served when people start to think about taking care of themselves as an individual so that they can then help other people around them. And focusing on positive is way better of an idea, I think, than negative.
You talked about focusing on the positivity, but what do you think is your unique ability that has helped you to become successful in your life?
That's a good question. While I was in college, I started to realize that for whatever reason, I could pick up on an individual. I could connect with people quickly. I've got stories on stories about how I've been able to walk into a room and I really couldn't describe it, which is why I feel it's like my natural thing, but I could almost come to identify with at least the personas of the people in the room, and then be able to connect that much faster and more meaningful ways on a one-to-one conversation with people than most people I know. And over time, that's given me the opportunity to quite literally be able to recognize how a person might be feeling, even through Zoom, just by being able to recognize nonverbal communication. I'm able to help people relax. You know, you think about some of the conversations I'm having right now with CEOs and CSOs. It's not easy out there. There's a lot of stress. So having the ability to recognize where a person might be mentally, and maybe more importantly, where they might be with their focus, and then helping them on an emotional level so that they could feel like they could trust, that they could know me enough to get to like me. It makes it easier to not only do good business together, but help people identify what their true goals are and help them find them and accomplish them.
Oh, that's great. That's really great for sailing. Is there something I forgot to ask you during this interview? Something you'd like to add?
No, I mean, all things considered, I love what you're doing with your website, and I love that there's this movement. You're part of a movement that I've been watching from my humble position for the last 2 to 3 years, and I feel like there's a momentum of good being built in spite of all the craziness going on. So maybe a good question to ask me would be, how do you think things are going to turn out? Or is there a way to help others or get people thinking differently? We have on my podcast, the Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization show, we ask people, or at least we did before COVID, we would ask people, if you were to come back on the podcast a year from now, what do you think we'd be talking about? So it's the idea of, what do you think's coming? Like, we always try to maybe help our audience or the people that associate with us to see around the corner a little bit more, maybe gain an advantage, but that's it.
Okay. And if I put you that question now, what do you think is coming?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be good. I think I am under the impression that whether it's with life or work, if you can, like, there's a lot of intensity, a lot of stress, and that builds up, and then there's a release, and then there's a rebuild. We saw it here. You see it across the globe in the form of recessions. Like, things get better. I think we're facing incredible. I often congratulate people for being alive today because we live in fascinating times, and I think with the peak in which things seem to be very crazy, and for some people very negative or scary, and they are. I'm not trying to minimize that, but I think what we'll see is we're going to peak there, and we're going to have the good side. We're going to get to where the good starts to prevail. That's my hope. That's my intention. So hopefully in a year from now, we're talking about all the positive things that are starting to happen because we've moved through, at least here in the States, we have what could be the most god-awful election coming up. And it's really wild to think that there could be so much positive that comes from so much crazy negative.
Thanks for your question. I think I will add it to the next.
Great.
It's really great. So my last question would be, where can our listeners connect with you online? It would be nice if you shared some links for your website, for socials.
Sure. So you can always go to keithcampagna.com, CAMPAGNA.com. You can get on my calendar if you go to my LinkedIn profile, and you can connect through my the subset in my life work integration section. There's a calendar link there. So there's LinkedIn, there's the ROIshop.com is the ROI Shop website, and then there's keithcampagna.com that kind of brings it all together.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
And the Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization podcast is live Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So just check me out on LinkedIn.
Yeah, if you send me a link, I can add all those links on the description. That would be nice.
Of course. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you as well. Thank you for the discussion, Keith. It's very
my pleasure
to me. And thank you for the time you've spent with me. And I hope that I will be hearing only the best things about you in future.
Thank you, and congratulations to you too. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Congratulations as well for your podcast. I will have a look at it shortly.
Great. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.